Tim Pool and Destiny are the same.
The FBI went after him, and a lot of it seems to stem from the fact that he was very open about going on RT and or writing op-eds, you know, for them. Now, I think that's very different, doing something out in the open and being very open with your opinions, as opposed to what Lauren Chen and Liam Donovan were doing.
Oh no, do I need to read these full indictments? Is he saying they only went after Scott Ritter because he wrote for RT? Scott Ritter's speech in Chechnya.
Content to them.
The founders of Tenet Media, though...
He was claiming it was vindication for him that they were revealed as Russian assets. How can he claim that it's vindication for him when two of the people that were the main person who was like the Russian asset and also the another person in the indictment who was also a Russian asset are both people that he's tried to rehabilitate and like aligned with as a fucking friend?
Even if what he's saying is true, even if what he's saying is true, I don't know. Did I ever try to rehabilitate Lauren Chen? What is? It doesn't even make sense. What?
I mean, his sycophantic fan base are not normal people anyway. So ultimately they don't give a shit. Just like they don't give a shit that he did a NFT shill. Okay? Like, inconsistency.
What other? Divorce? What else can we bring up? Oh my God.
Is not a thing for a person like Destiny who claims to be the most consistent moral authority online.
That is, I do claim that.
Okay?
Yes.
That's precisely the reason why it's ridiculous when he will talk a lot about like the term cracker being a anti-white
we're going to the cracker discourse,
racist slur, and then simultaneously say the N-word openly. Okay?
Openly.
And his followers don't give a shit either because they're nihilistic edgelords who just want to, you know, win arguments, even if it's just for a brief moment.
He repeats this over and over again. Like both can be slurs and both can be whatever. I've said this a million times. I don't know why he. Oh, I know why. It's because he has to lie to his audience, but because I have to be literally Volta Hitler to these people.
Yeah, Mr. N-Wordelli.
What a hilarious N-Wordelli. True, epic, based.
It's also fucking ridiculous because
yeah,
I remember the NFT shill. You were at Twitch event in like 2022 when it did. He did it. One of the rare times back then where you would bring up D.
How many years ago was the NFT thing?
Fan bases, racist ass fan base looks like when the guy was like, I'm shaking.
Who had these influencers on their books were told by the Russians the position to take on some issues, according to the indictment. The Russian Foreign Ministry today described it as an assault on free speech.
We've got everywhere in chat from 2 years to 5 years ago. Okay, what is this?
But let's get back to making fun of Tim Pool, who, by the way, in many respects is straight up no different than Drew Pablo. That's the thing that you need to...
Oh, never mind. I'm sorry. Hasan is probably feeling the heat because he realizes that he does the Russian talking point thing. I'm meaning that like, oh, he's not getting paid for it. But Hasan might be feeling some heat. Maybe. I don't watch his shit right now. I haven't watched his shit in forever, but I haven't been sent anything from him right now. Of him being accused of like doing the same talking points. But maybe since all those memes are flying around Twitter with us saying Hasan does it for free, maybe he's feeling the heat to try to separate himself out from these guys. He's like, well, I'm not like these guys. Actually, Destiny's like these guys. These guys are actually like Destiny. That's my guess. That's why he's trying so hard to separate us out. Maybe?
But let's get back to making fun of Tim Pool, who, by the way, in many respects is straight up no different than Drew Pablo. That's the thing that you need to understand. Him and Drew are the same. Tim Pool and Destiny are the same. It's just who they get paid by as mercenaries is different, okay? That's the major difference. And they fucking hate that they can't fucking call me out in a similar fashion. They hate it.
Call who out for what? I don't think anybody I don't call Hasan ever getting paid by anybody because I don't think anybody would. You already make a ton of money on Twitch. Like you're a part of the, like you are just a copy paste of the current cultural communist Zoomer zeitgeist. And as soon as it ends, you will be forgotten. Nobody will remember you, and you'll retire because you won't be able to handle having less than 10,000 concurrent viewers. You'll want to kill yourself. Like that's all you are. Like I don't think anybody has to pay you for that. I don't think I've ever made the accusation that Hasan does get paid. I don't think he does. Why would I want to call you out for it? Like you're stupid all on your own, dog.
Okay, that's the major difference. And they fucking hate that they can't fucking call me out in a similar fashion. They hate it. For many of them, they also obviously are aligned with American State Department interests and pro-NATO sentiment. So,
to be clear, I am aligned with American State Department interests because the American Department of State is part of the American government, and which is part of the country of America, and I am an American citizen. Yes. I am indeed aligned with my country's interests. That is true. I'm a U.S. citizen. What? Yeah. What is that supposed to be like a massive fucking own? Yes, correct. I do generally align with the policies and the international presence of my country. That's correct. Like you do as well, Chief. You realize that you're a family of all the countries in the world they could have immigrated to. They brought your fucking retarded ass here in the United States for opportunity, right?
Aligned with American State Department interests and pro-NATO sentiment, so these kinds of DOJ investigations will never be conducted on who pays them.
What a lying boy piece of shit. On who pays them? Is that gross negligence? God, fuck. I wish I had like a whole legal lawyer retainer team. Just for memes, I would defamation him. Fuck, I need a meme lawyer who lives in California who wants to do it. Let's file the papers. He knows I'm not getting paid by Israel. It's a retarded accusation. It's so stupid. Email me, okay? But you have to charge less than $400 an hour, okay? I'm not paying no $800 an hour defamation bullshit, okay? You gotta have some reasonable rates, all right? And I'm not gonna pay you to watch Hasan videos all day either. So if you ask me to email you 50 links for you to watch and get paid $400 an hour to watch them, I'm not doing that either. I know your tricks, motherfuckers, all right?
If there was obviously a real karmic justice out there or any sort of real lawfare out there, real rule of law out there, they would be treated in the exact same way that journalists were treated for defending the Holocaust.
What? What? Oh, because Gaza genocide, supporting Israel means I'm defending the new Holocaust, which, okay, my bad. That was easier than I thought to link it there.
Okay. For their consistent support of Israel's genocide.
Yeah, that's it. Sorry.
They would be tried.
It took me a while. His things are so stupid. And I'm trying to think of like, are you comparing me to like Nazi propagandists during World War II? But then I had to remember, oh, it's Hasan Piker. Okay. This guy is a fucking retard. What am I think? I need to go back to retard points. And then I'm like, okay, retard words. Well, what do we got going on? Israel. Oh, genocide, apartheid. Oh, it's just the Gaza shit. It's genocide, genocide, genocide. I remember now. Okay. My bad.
Defending the Holocaust. Okay. For their consistent support of Israel's genocide, they would be tried in the exact same manner that members of the media were tried during the Nuremberg trials. To me, there is...
Are you okay?
No difference between Tim Pool and Death.
You know what this makes me think? This makes... Is he still doing like 35K viewers or whatever? This makes me think he's view botting. how can he be this like insecure? He always comes after me. It's whenever I have over 10K concurrent viewers. It's like clockwork. Because if I do a bunch of boring shit for a long time and I'm just like doing research, he won't mention my name. He won't say anything. And then as soon as I start to go over 10K, I should be doing more J6 work. But I know that if I can just stream and do random bullshit and get over 10K, I know that Hasan's going to be talking about me over and over. It's just funny to watch him lose his mind. I wonder if he started viewbotting here. Because now he like nails over 30K pretty easily and pretty consistently. I can understand for a bit when big events are going on. I wonder if he's viewbotting. And now this is him like lashing out because he's starting to feel like super threatened maybe. I don't know. Jesus.
During the Nuremberg trials. To me, there is no difference between Tim Pool and Destiny in that regard. There is no difference between Tim Pool and Drew Pavlov in that.
Doesn't Tim Pool align with Hasan when it comes to Israel? Wait, like what is Tim Pool's position on the genocide right now? Hold on. Wait, what? I don't even know. Tim Pool, genocide, Israel. Oh, maybe not. Tim Pool thinks Palestinians should embrace oppression. The majority report, the majority report, the majority report. Wait, Israel is more evil than Hamas 11 days ago. Hasan's insane take and Tim Pool lies are gonna. Fuck, it's all the majority report. Oh my God, they cover a lot of Tim Pool. Tim Pool, Israel, war. How do progressives not see the anti-Semitic conspiracy overlap and alt-right neo-Nazism? Accusing people they disagree with are owned by Israel as wild? More like based. Fuck, let's see what they cover here, I guess. I don't know what they'll even say.
Actually, just because this will be my second crack at having fun, at least.
Killed? They said, and I can give you a source on that.
As you know, we've been saying for days, move south. Civilians are not involved with Hamas. Please move south.
Just trying to get a little bit more information. You knew there were civilians there. You knew there were refugees, all sorts of refugees, but you decided to still drop a bomb on that refugee camp attempting to kill the Hamas commander. By the way, was he killed?
I can't confirm yet.
I mean, Wolf should have just let him answer the question. Then he just jumped to another one. We get the point. Israel says they carried an airstrike at Hamas.
Sorry,
killed them.
just again, like Tim adding bullshit there that is not really.
They didn't even listen to the clip. Fuck. Let me make fun of Tim.
The hospital, and many on the left, pro-Palestinian groups and left, lied about the hospital. So when stories like this come out, what am I supposed to do?
I don't know about the hospital, frankly. I'm not sure that the story has really been debunked.
Well, it has. They claimed the hospital was leveled and 500
Okay, well, the hospital wasn't leveled. They hit the parking lot.
Yep, and it may have been a couple dozen injured with a certain.
No.
But there's
Oh, he fights against the Al Ali hospital misinfo. These guys still probably... Oh, wait, this was 10 months ago. November 2nd. Was Tim Pool in it? Fuck, I haven't listened. Have I listened to Tim Pool do Israel-Palestine? Maybe not. Maybe I've just been RFK shit. Fuck, I don't know. I'm too lazy to go through all of his vods and find out, but okay. Let's find out. Or let's listen to the rest of the song.
Pool and Drew Pavlov in that regard. The only benefit is, for them, they're not going to get called out in the same way that Tim Pool is getting called out. That's part of the reason why they hate me. Okay? That's it.
We've got breaking points coverage. Oh boy.
Let's move on to the next part.
Can't wait to... Should we start? What are the talking points? The USA does this in every country. We only focus on Russia because it's right before the election, and it's not even... those two. We'll go with those two. The US does this in every other country, and wow, crazy that the Russiagate thing is coming out right before the election. That's my two.
This is about Russia. This was actually the first Russia indictment to come down. And it was definitely kind of amusing. The DOJ is alleging a vast Russian social media campaign to influence the U.S. election.
I like how he's like, like vast, like, oh, like, can you even imagine? And then in the next breath, it's like, also the Jews might actually control substantial parts of the United States media, banking, political system.
Action. Here is Mayor
Actually, I don't actually know if he believes that, to be fair. I think this guy's just fucking retarded. I don't know if he's a Nazi, too.
Garland at his press conference. Let's take a listen.
Today, our colleagues at the State and Treasury Departments are announcing parallel actions in both of these matters.
Bleh. Wish I had sub money. I want to bother Destiny. Why not? You could have just typed your question and I would have read it. Instead, I just read you crying. If you don't have money to subscribe, you want to know what? There is actually something that's really irritating. I try to sell my tier 1 subs at $5 a piece, okay? because I think it's affordable and I want as many people to be able to subscribe as possible. I actually, yesterday in chat, I saw RTBA, Jader, and Cake were scalping tier 1 subs for $50 a piece. It was ridiculous. They turned off the sub feature on the site and they were saying if you want a tier 1, you have to pay $50 just to subscribe. What was going on with that?
Unfortunately, we know that Russia is not the only foreign power seeking to interfere in our elections. As the U.S. intelligence community noted 2 weeks ago, we have observed increasingly aggressive Iranian activity during this election cycle. That includes recently reported activities by Iran to compromise former President Trump's campaign and to avoid an election outcome that it regards as against its interests. Those recently reported Iranian activities also include efforts to obtain access to individuals who themselves have access to the presidential campaigns of both political parties. The Justice Department's message is clear. We have no tolerance for attempts by authoritarian regimes to exploit our democratic system of government. We will be relentlessly aggressive in countering and disrupting attempts by Russia and Iran, as well as China or any other foreign malign actor to interfere in our elections and undermine our democracy.
Okay, so that was part of the big press conference. Next, let's put this one up there on the screen. They have announced a plan to counter Russian influence ahead of the 2024 election. I went through, and while this RT indictment was a separate one, it actually came out much later than the original one. The original one, honestly, is a complete...
Aren't these guys progressive? Why wouldn't they believe the DOJ on this? Sagar is just a dipshit, kind of conservative moron, but he's just really stupid. And Crystal Ball is like a tanky / like ultra progressive. So she is going to always hate America and side against America and just have the dumb. They're both like very dumb. They're both very dumb. And their political affiliations are also prone to being dumb. So like combined, it's just like a lot of like dumb. It's just stupid and dumb. It's like Dumb and Dumber, but they're on like a show that makes you dumber. I don't know. I don't know who watches this. I don't know who this is supposed to appeal to, because they're not even, like, for instance, if you ask me about Rush Limbaugh, I can tell you exactly why Rush Limbaugh. He's sharp. He's got a sharp tongue. He's funny. He's clever. He's connected. He's got good memes. The golden microphone at the EIB network. My cigar-stained fingertips. Rush was just an entertaining guy. I could 100% tell you why people listen to something like that, even though I think he's insane or was insane. Or like Joe Rogan. I know why people would watch Joe Rogan. He's chill. He's a bro. He's like pretty funny. He's casual. He brings on a lot of different types of dudes. I totally get it. Even like people like Hasan, I get it. Even if I would never watch these guys, and even if personally I don't even think they're that entertaining, and I would never listen to Joe Rogan on my own. I get it. I know why people do. For people like this, like Breaking Points, I have no idea who the Breaking Points audience is for this. I have no idea. We should do a law school arc where somebody sues us and we like do enough research to, I think it's called a pro se representation, where you represent yourself. How sick would that be? We could prepare our own documents. We'd be a pro se litigant. Yes. How cute would that be? Oh my God, we could file our motions on stream. Any suggestions, guys? What should we add to this? I need to do some legal research. Let's go. How sick would that be?
Joke, because if you go through and actually start to read what all of this is, they are targeting both individuals and others who basically like wrote op-eds or appeared on RT Russia Today as some sort of large encompassing Russian social media op, on top of highlighting some of the so-called Russian disinformation on social media. Somehow, Crystal, they have actually gotten worse, in my opinion, from 2016. If you'll remember all those idiot Bernie bro memes and some of the pro-Trump stuff, I will show you some of that in a little bit. But one case I've really had my eye on, this is actually part of this investigation, let's put this up there, is that of the DOJ, who is serving subpoenas and search warrants on certain individuals here in the United States who they allege are part of this vast Russian, state media campaign.
Vast.
One of them was Scott Ritter. Now, Scott is one of those people, many people watch the show may even know. I would say it's probably fair to say he's like very anti-establishment, has a very different view, I think, in the most charitable sense of the Ukraine conflict, and has been pretty vociferous about U.S. support to Ukraine. He's been accused of being quote unquote pro-Russian, but his house was raided, as they put in here. The FBI went after him, and a lot of it seems to stem from the fact that he was very open about going on RT and or writing op-eds, for them. Now, I think that's very different, doing something out in the open and being very open with your opinions, as opposed to what Lauren Chen and Liam Donovan were doing.
Oh no, do I need to read these full indictments? Is he saying they only went after Scott Ritter because he wrote for RT? They raided his house? Is that why? Or is he completely and totally misrepresenting what that affidavit was about? Oh, fuck. quick. I don't even know what the I don't want to have to read this whole fucking thing. Is Ritter mentioned in this? Oh, Ritter's not even mentioned in this. Go over the Kino exhibits. What pages? Why are some of the people in the lawsuit given a number instead of just naming them? That's a good question. Why are people in indictments unnamed sometimes? I guess it's going to be like protecting privacy maybe, but I mean like it all gets published publicly, so I'm not sure. Limitation on naming persons as unindicted co-conspirators. Okay, so right now these are Title IX Criminal Justice Manual. So this has to do with indictment procedures for federal indictments. Also, state stuff is probably going to be pretty similar. That'd be my guess, but okay. Limitations on naming persons as unindicted co-conspirators. In the absence of some significant justification, federal prosecutors generally should not identify unindicted co-conspirators in conspiracy indictments. The practice of naming individuals as unindicted co-conspirators is in an indictment charging a criminal conspiracy has been severely criticized in U.S. v. Briggs. Ordinarily, there is no need to name a person as an unindicted co-conspirator in an indictment in order to fulfill any legitimate prosecutorial interest or duty. For purposes of indictment itself, it is sufficient, for example, to allege that the defendant conspired with another person or persons known in any because in an indictment, in a charging document, all you're supposed to really lay out is what you need to charge the people who are being charged with the crime. And I guess you don't need the names of unindicted co-conspirators, so why would you include it? It's unnecessary, I guess, would be the rationale, I guess. In any indictment where an allegation that the defendant conspired with another person or persons known is insufficient, some other generic reference should be used, such as Employee 1 or Company 2. The use of non-generic descriptors, like a person's actual initials, is usually an unnecessarily specific description and should not be used. If identification of the person is required, it can be supplied upon request in a bill of particulars. So this might mean, so when they say in an indictment to the grand jury, they might reveal a person. So this might mean, this is in an indictment, I'm guessing, where they have like people, co-conspirator, whatever, like people who are known to the jury or known or unknown to the grand jury, right? This is what they're talking about. So maybe in a bill of particulars that's been made available to the grand jury, but not to just the public when they're reading an indictment, I guess. Yeah. CJM 920. With respect to the trial, the person's identity and the status as a co-conspirator can be established for evidentiary purposes through the introduction of proof sufficient to invoke the co-conspirator hearsay exception without subjecting the person to the burden of a formal accusation by a grand jury. The prohibition against naming unindicted co-conspirators should not extend to persons who have otherwise been charged with the same conspiracy by way of unsealed criminal complaint or information. In the absence of some significant justification, federal prosecutors generally should not identify unindicted co-conspirators in conspiracy indictments. Okay. What is this? Scott Ritter's speech in Chechnya.
Я хочу предоставить слово нашему уважаемому гостю.
Большое спасибо, ваш президент, ваш командир, ваш офицерам и солдат Чечни. Это моя второй раз в Чечне. Я до my первый раз, когда...
Is he speaking in Russian, or is this like translated like with a voiceover?
Визитный Чечню. Я говорю, надо визит. Почему? Потому что сейчас вся Америка, вся Европа, люди только знают, когда я говорю Чечня, она думает...
He's speaking in slightly broken Russian. Holy Jesus, okay.
Страшный человек. Но страшно не хорошо, страшно плохо. Это неправда. Когда я визитный, я смотрел чеченские люди, самые хорошие люди. Люди хотят жить мир. Люди хотят дружба, все мир. Вы страшный солдат. Я знаю ваши истории. Я знаю, вы героем Мариуполь. Я знаю, вы героем Луганск, Донецк,
oh, no.
Херсон, Запорожье. Я знаю тоже вы мужик, человек, хочет семья, хочет детки, хочет жизнь, не хочет борьба. Но сейчас работать надо. Вы работать, страшно работать. Но главное...
I suspect that Tim and Ruben will get slapped with either civil OFAC, I don't know what that means, or civil forfeiture. Civil because they as a person not know knowingly. If it's knowingly, then OFAC will change to criminal OFAC. Would you really have to give up that money? There's no way, right? Imagine if you worked for a foreign, like you didn't know, you unknowingly worked for like a foreign adversary for a year, and then that foreign adversary gets charged. You're like, oh shit. And then, like, do you have to give up all of the money that you made? That would be wild. Office of Foreign Asset Control. It would make sense for like, it would make sense probably for Ruben and for Tim. I don't know about the other four. It was so much money. It was so much money. My God.
Главный момент будет, когда войны кончились, и вы вернулись дома, и ружье, до свидания, семье, детки есть. Это будет главный момент. Это потому, что я здесь. Я хочу работать в дружба между Чечней и Америкой. Америка неплохо место. Американские люди, как вы, хорошие люди. Государство – это другой вопрос, это политик. Я не политик. Я солдат, как вы. Я думаю, вы будете выиграть.
Jesus Christ.
Я знаю. И когда все, я хочу, что все чеченские солдаты вернутся дома и нормальная жизнь. Еще один раз большое спасибо. Я очень рад здесь. Я очень рад с вами познакомиться.
Oh. Tim Pool's gonna go interview with the FBI. Good luck, Timmy Tim. I've been contacted by the FBI as a potential victim of a crime. The FBI believes I have information relevant to an ongoing criminal investigation and have requested a voluntary interview. I will be offering my assistance in this matter. Matt Christensen made that exact same statement in a Twitter live yesterday. Gotcha. Ritter was the subject of 2 law enforcement sting operations in 2001. He was charged in June 2001 with trying to set up a meeting with an undercover police officer posing as a 16-year-old. He was charged with misdemeanor crime of attempted endangerment of the welfare of a child, and then it was later dismissed and the record was sealed. And then he was arrested again in 2009 over communications with a police decoy he met in an internet chat site. Police said he exposed himself via webcam after the officer repeatedly identified himself as a 15-year-old girl. Oh no, it wasn't even like a female police officer pretending to be a young girl. It was a male police officer. Oh no. How okay. Listen, if he served his time or whatever, okay. Although, damn, an 8-year gap between these two behaviors. Who knows how many other kids he's fucking jerking off for online. Okay, so to be clear, it's the wannabe kitty fucker and the Russian Bucha massacre supporter people, Scott Ritter, that this guy is simping for. Okay, just to be clear, just so that I know who he's who he's ball washing here. That's good. Thank you. Okay.
And has been pretty vociferous about U.S. support to Ukraine. He's been accused of being quote-unquote pro-Russian, but he...
He's been accused of being pro-Russian. Wait, hold on. Wait, I'm so sorry. Wait, is this a real video, or maybe this is...
Yeah, хочу.
Also, somebody asked if this was CGI'd. This does kind of look fake. Maybe this part is fake. Was this a real speech that he gave? Did he give a real speech over here, or is this like all fucking bullshit? Yes, it's real, Destiny. No one denies this. Oh, okay. All right, accused of being pro-Russia, quote unquote.
His house was raided, as they put in here. The FBI
Bucha
went after him, and a lot of it seems to stem from the fact that he was very open about going on RT and or writing op-eds, you know, for them. Now, I think that's very different, doing something out in the open and being very open with your opinion.
Was that why the okay? Hold on, FBI raid Ritter, dude. I don't have time to fact check every stupid fucking thing. For a raid, you don't have to publish any information publicly, right? Justice Department has not confirmed any investigation through intelligence. Oh, okay, so we don't even know, okay? This is on August 23rd, 2024, just a couple weeks ago, basically. Okay, so he's just guessing, ball washing some more, okay.
As opposed to what Lauren Chen and Liam Donovan were doing, which is taking money knowingly from Russia and then funneling that to other people and basically deceiving them into some sort of large scheme. So I haven't wanted to keep my eye on this. I'm not saying I'm pro Scott Ritter or anything, but he's a U.S. citizen.
I mean,
yeah, he's a U.S. citizen and he has a legitimate opinion. You may not agree with that opinion. Why are they going through this man's house?
Yeah.
Like, here's another thing that I would respect more, and this is why I don't respect conservatives and why they are subhuman in their approach to politics. Why would you, like, why not just say what he did directly and then defend that? Right? Why not say Scott Ritter, who is an incredibly pro-Russian American, right? He has a right to say that because that's true, by the way. If you are pro-Russia, if you want Russia to win over Ukraine, if you don't think we should support Ukraine, that's your right as an American citizen to say that. And you should have the right to say that. I think you fully should be within your rights to say that. That's fine. Defend that. Why do you have to lie about his position? It makes you seem like a skeevy, snaky fuck if you won't just own his position and then defend it. It makes it seem like would you not defend him if they were his legitimate positions or what? Like,
U.S. citizen.
I mean, the point
he's a
is,
U.S. citizen, and he has a legitimate opinion. You may not agree with that opinion. Why are they going through this man's house?
Yeah, and he hasn't been indicted yet, just to be clear. But yeah, this is where you get into like, listen, you're allowed to be pro-Putin.
Yeah, like actually,
like this is this is America. We're supposed to have free speech rights, and even if your speech is
but what do you think he was raided just for being pro-Russia? That's the accusation with no information published. And the sad thing is that if an indictment gets published, they don't get any accountability for just the drivel that comes out of their mouths on the show. There's no accountability, none.
Supporting official bad guy regime of the U.S. government, like you're allowed to do that. So that's where it starts to get. The other thing with all of this, Sagar, is you're talking about one of the things that they're targeting is this this doppelganger campaign. They're calling it of this is the kind of the creating fake.
This is intentional too. Also, I hate this when people do this. Whenever you want to downplay something, you always do this. It's like what what's that stupid? What's this the 65 IQ blonde chick called? Emma. When she was like, "Oh, who are you?" Oh, I think he was called that. Like this, like pretending not to know shit. When you're like, "Oh, this thing they're calling doppelganger, supposedly, allegedly," like these types of things, right? They never speak about. We'll say like Israel this way, right? It's never like the accusation is that there was this thing called, what do they call it, Bad Daddy or whatever, their AI program. There's this thing. They always speak like way more concretely and resolutely about that. But the way that Sagar and Crystal Balls over here is talking about all the FBI stuff. It's like it's just done so dismissively. This thing that they're calling doppelganger, this thing.
This doppelganger campaign they're calling.
Doppelganger, this thing that doppelganger they're calling it.
This is the kind of the creating fake a network that use sites they say that impersonate legitimate news entities and fake social media profiles impersonating Americans. This goes back to like some of the core like 2016 allegations of the influence campaign that was being run there. And I'm not saying any of this is good. By the way, we engage in these types of activities as well, as does, and we'll get to this in a minute.
Oh, we got one of them. We do this too. Remember that? What was the second one I said they would say? That's one. It's always America's always just as bad as everybody else. Well, worse because we're larger and we've got a bigger responsibility. Okay, we got one. What was the second one that I said? Fuck, I don't remember, but we got that.
And, I'm not saying any of this is good. By the way, we engage in these types of activities as well, as does, and we'll get to this in a minute, Israel, and no one seems that upset about that, and there's no indictment.
Yes, and the Jews. Thank God. Hell yes.
Good. By the way, we engage in these types of activities as well, as does, and we'll get to this in a minute, Israel, and no one seems that upset about that, and there's no indictments coming down about that, but we'll pause.
What indictments? Is Israel influencing people in the United States with like foreign money or foreign control that we know about that nobody's going after? Is that true? Like who?
That for a moment. We should also be clear about like, we have wildly expensive, elaborate, sophisticated presidential campaigns, okay? The memes and the fake news, the things that they're putting out.
Wait. Are these marching orders? Oh no, I'm about to have a schizo moment. Is she about to make the exact same point that Glenn Greenwald did? That the cost of the election is so big that this is just a drop in the bucket? Like, it shouldn't freak you out that Russia is running our democracy, okay? It's even these videos, they got these top commentators on their payroll, unknowingly again, Tim Pool, Dave Rubin, these guys get millions of views, right? They're very popular in plenty of circles. And even their content, you were saying, is getting like 8,000 views on these videos. Like, that's nothing. That's nothing. So even as, in that instance, if the allegations are true, like there should be indictments there. You're laundering money, $10 million, you're creating fake businessmen, whatever. But let's also be really clear-eyed about how much impact any of this is actually having on our politics.
Absolutely.
And
it's one indictment with one company. Like, how many do you need? Like, what, like, also, this is after the whole Internet Research Agency, and it's after the broader, 33 different web domains that the DOJ took down in another release yesterday. Like, how many do you need? Like, at what point does it become worrisome to you? Like, do you think this is the only thing they're doing? Do you think Scott Ritter only showed his cock to two supposedly underage people? Like, well, I mean, what is
going back to 2016 when you had the whole frenzy around this, whatever.
Oh, shit. Also, I'm so sorry. I'm missing a huge piece of context here. These guys are probably auditioning for their bit of Russian money, right? I know you guys just lost a huge subsidiary of the United States. Well, hey, listen, okay, if you're trying to funnel some money around, okay, consider breaking points. Would you consider reaching out to Mudahar, Willie Mack about making a video on the FAR indictments? If you, I messaged the Nicholas Diorio guy. He said they might hop on tomorrow, maybe.
There was never any evidence that any of it meaningfully impacted how people voted and what the actual outcome of that election.
They were never looking for that type of that. How would that's not even in the purview of the Justice Department to check. Like,
absolutely.
And there is, going back to 2016 when you had the whole frenzy around this, whatever, there was never any evidence that any of it meaningfully impacted how people voted and what the actual outcome of that election ultimately was.
Yeah, and for example, I went through and actually read this indictment whenever it was coming out.
Press X to doubt. He has never read a full indictment cover to cover in his entire life. Guaranteed. Guaranteed.
Put this on the screen. I want people to see what was so spooky and scary. Here is one of the massive Russian influence operations. It was a Facebook page called CNN California, in blue, not even in the CNN logo. It had 2 likes and 7 followers. The description was from sunny beaches to bust.
Wait.
In blue is one of the massive Russian influence operations. It was a Facebook page called CNN California, in blue, not even in the CNN logo.
He didn't read it. I didn't even read this indictment. The point was to show that AI was creating pages and that it could copy logos and change the color. Yes, it's not even in the original color. They say that. They literally, this isn't an indictment, I don't think, by the way. Also, I believe it's just an affidavit. But they literally say that in here. Affidavit in support of seizure warrant. Fuck, what page was this? We saw this. They even explained, yeah, they explained that it was in a different color. That was the point of putting it in here. The use of targeted advertising by Doppelganger is corroborated by records obtained from Meta pursuant to a warrant which identified Meta pages and advertisers linked to the Doppelganger campaign. Notably, these records reveal Doppelganger's apparent use of artificial intelligence tools to generate content, including images and videos. This is an example of AI generating fake shit. So yeah, they take the CNN logo, they change the color to make it seem like it's, fucking Democrat and from California, and then they use this as part of like advertising campaigns. That's the whole point, you retarded fucking stooge. Why is he acting like he's making some novel insight here if you actually read any of this and you weren't just going by what you're probably underpaid interns were being paid to fucking collect for you to demonstrate on this fucking show so you can get on your knees and grovel for foreign money to shit on our country? You might actually know that. Holy shit. 0 chance that he read this. 0 chance. He didn't even read this page. He didn't even read the page.
Whenever it was coming out. Let's put this on the screen. I want people to see what was so spooky and scary. Here is one of the massive Russian influence operations. It was a Facebook page called CNN California, in blue, not even in the CNN logo. It had 2 likes and 7 followers. The description was from sunny beaches to busting tech hubs. We explore the lifestyle, news, and development Californian. So grammatically incorrect, wrong logo, and weird banner. The next
with
is
7 followers.
Yeah, with 7 followers. Next is quote BBC California. Okay.
Like, okay, never mind.
Like, why should we care? Exactly. These were obviously a complete joke. And that's the point, is that they're very obvious throughout all of these. You had grammatical errors. You had social media pages with very few...
Yeah, just because something is a complete joke doesn't mean that people don't take it seriously. There are some channels on YouTube, for instance, that are incredibly successful, even though the people on them are insanely misinformed, never make coherent points about any of the shit they're talking about, like avoid accountability and responsibility as much as possible. These things exist in the world and people take them seriously. What is the point that he thinks he's making here?
Followers and their accounts. It actually reminds me of a lot of what came through the Twitter files, where you would watch the FBI get up in arms about some account that had like 12 followers that said, hey, everybody, the election's on Wednesday. And there's an FBI agent sitting in Northern Virginia, getting paid probably $100,000 a year plus benefits, scrolling through and searching Twitter, spending our taxpayer dollars time interfacing with social media company to try and get this stuff taken down. That's what all of this read through. And I went through, guys, this was a hundreds of pages indictment, and they point out these fake stories.
Hundreds of pages. 277 pages. Why are you lying about reading it? You didn't read shit. I don't even know if you can fucking read. Holy shit.
And they point out, they're like, the Russian government created dummy news websites. And you'll look at it, it'll be like WashingtonPost.kp or something. Sorry, who's going to that? Like, for real? Like,
I mean, what about the ones that, if you look at the ones in the original Mueller indictment, right? Like, again, some of these Twitter accounts were followed by hundreds of thousands of people. Hundreds of thousands of people followed these accounts. Nobody knew that they were fake. Now, again, I haven't read this, although the one page that I just happened to read already shows me that this retard hasn't read it. Like, the point isn't that, also, I don't know if there might even be large accounts that are called out in this. I'm not in this affidavit. I'm not even sure. The point is that they're able to do it with AI. You have no idea how prolific these accounts have spread. There probably are some larger ones that are being operated, as you've just written off about the tenant media shit, right? You've got three of huge content creators in the United States, okay, that are somehow roped into this.
You really Google and then go to page 12 to click on WashingtonPost.kp? Are you that?
No, it wasn't about having to Google and go, you dipshit. It was about the fact that these people were buying advertisements. They were buying advertisements. You don't have to Google and go to some place. They're shown alongside your content.
Stupid. And if you are, like, you probably are going to fall for 10 million more sites.
Yeah, well, that's why.
Yeah, like this channel.
I was gonna say is, I mean, out of all of this though, especially if you are on Twitter, like you just need to not believe anything that's on there anymore because so much of it is, it's not even this foreign influence, some of it is that.
Yeah.
But people just make shit up now. I mean, it's just, I know it's always been the case, but I think it is worse than ever before under the, new Elon model where anyone can get a blue check and then they use that as some sort of credibility and they'll just make stuff up. Their sources say Tim Walz is about to drop out and their sources say like Joe Biden's actually dead and this is a body, like they will make stuff up. So please, I implore you, do not believe this, really, really double check. And
Are these people left wing or right wing? They're anti-establishment, so they're retards. That's it. And then they're anti-establishment and they're incredibly stupid. That's it.
anything that you
again, like I said, I don't know who watches this show. I have no clue who even what the target audience is for this type of shit. It's insane to me.
Spreading online because the problem has never been worse than it is right now. Last piece of this we referenced a couple times, put D6 up on the screen. We know that Israel organized and paid for an influence campaign that targeted lawmakers directly, and especially black lawmakers, and would pose as like black constituents trying to push the Israel agenda. And I won't hold my breath on the indictments forthcoming for that one, which does show you.
Let's see what this is about. Israel secretly targets. New York Times story, June 6, 2024. So 3 months ago. Israel's Ministry of Diaspora Affairs ordered the operation, which used fake social media accounts urging U.S. lawmakers to fund Israel's military, according to officials and documents about the effort. Israel organized and paid for an influence campaign last year targeting U.S. lawmakers and the American public with pro-Israel messaging as it aimed to foster support for its actions in the war in Gaza, according to officials involved in the effort and documents related to the operation. The covert campaign was commissioned by Israel's Ministry of Diaspora Affairs, a government body that connects Jews around the world with the state of Israel, four Israeli officials said. The ministry allocated about $2 million to the operation and hired Stoic, a political marketing firm in Tel Aviv, to carry it out, according to the officials and the documents. The campaign began in October and remains active on the platform X. At its peak, it used hundreds of fake accounts that posed as real Americans on X, Facebook, and Instagram to post pro-Israel comments. The accounts focused on U.S. lawmakers, particularly the ones who are black and Democrats, such as Representative Hakeem Jeffries and the House Minority Leader from New York and Senator Raphael Warnock of Georgia, with posts urging them to continue funding Israel's military. ChatGPT, the artificial intelligence-powered chatbot, was used to generate many of these posts. The campaign also created 3 fake English-language news sites featuring pro-Israel articles. The Israeli government's connection to the influence operation, which the New York Times verified with 4 current and former members of the Ministry of Diaspora Affairs and documents about the campaign, has not previously been reported. Fake reporter and Israeli misinformation watchdog identified the effort in March. Last week, Meta, which owns Facebook and Instagram and OpenAI, which makes ChatGPT. Meta owns. I didn't even know that. Meta owns OpenAI, which makes ChatGPT. Oh god, geez, I didn't know that connection. Said that they had also found and disrupted the operation. The secretive campaign signals the lengths Israel was willing to go to sway American opinion on the war in Gaza. Okay, so this is bad, obviously. Nobody should be covertly trying to fund bot farms or operations that are targeting really any American social media platforms. That is true. However, this is a far different in terms of gravity. Running a botnet on Twitter is a lot different than starting fake companies inside the United States to do this. I'm not even sure if you could indict somebody over this. Like, I don't know what the criminal behavior would be. It's possible. My understanding is all of the criminal indictments for the Russian stuff, even in the Mueller investigation, had to do with people disingenuously operating stuff in the United States. I believe that's what the IRA, the Internet Research Agency, and all the indictments related to that were about. And also, even if this is bad and you want to call it out, why would you use this as an opportunity to downplay something else? Why not just say like, hey, this is bad as well, or this shouldn't happen, right? Doesn't say fake sites were created. Yeah, but I don't know if these are like hosted in the United States. It just says English sites. For the problem with the IRA is the IRA, I believe, was an actual company that was established. It was like a legal entity established in the United States. Just because an English-speaking site is open doesn't mean you establish a whole new company, everything else. Microsoft owns AI, not Meta, or owns OpenAI, not Meta. Wait, is that true? Who owns OpenAI? Is controlled by the board of directors? No. It's divided between Microsoft, 49%, other stakeholders, 49%. Oh, well, I don't know why they have I don't know why they say Meta is here. That's kind of weird, but okay. Read that sentence again. Meta. Oh, I see. Never mind. Oh, man. What a poorly structured sentence. I understand. I'm sorry. Last week, Meta, which owns Facebook and Instagram, comma, and OpenAI, comma, which makes ChatGPT, said that they also found and disrupted the operation. I read this as Meta, which owns Facebook and Instagram, and OpenAI, which makes ChatGPT, said that, okay, but this is just a separate clause or whatever. Jesus. What a sentence.
Like, it's very black lawmakers and Israel organized and paid for and influence some sort of credibility, and they'll just make stuff up. Their sources say Tim Walz is about to drop out. Their sources say like Joe Biden's actually dead and this is a bot. Like, they will make stuff up. So please, I implore you, do not believe this. You know, really, really double check anything that you are seeing spreading online, because the problem has never been worse than it is right now. Last piece of
for the dumb ones, could you explain why it matters? There is. I don't technically know if it's illegal. I don't know if you're breaking any laws. If you, let's say that you're in, well, we can even use Russia as an example. Let's say that Russia has a bot farm in Russia that creates fake accounts on X and then like spams bad social media posts or whatever, or fake news or whatever to US lawmakers. I don't know if that's technically breaking any laws. I'm not even sure. I don't know if there's like a law that you would even implicate that, right? It's foreign actors making accounts on social media websites. I don't know if you can ever, I don't know if you would even charge somebody with a crime on that. Creating a legal entity in the United States, though, well, now that's subject to all of the rules and regulations of the United States. And obviously, you're going to assume some liability there for civil or criminal matters in a way that you wouldn't just making an account on a website, right?
This we referenced a couple times, put D6 up on the screen. We know that Israel organized and paid for an influence campaign that targeted lawmakers directly, and especially black lawmakers, and would pose as like black constituents trying to push the Israel agenda.
See, like the way that she's phrasing this, an influence campaign and targeting people, in the context of what we just read, is a totally different thing. You can argue that it's not good, and it probably isn't. All of this bot shit online is fucking AIDS as fuck, okay? Whether Israel, Russia, or anybody's fucking doing it, 100%. But this is not the same type of like creating legal entities in the United States to pay people for propaganda talking points. It's like not even remotely the same thing.
And, you know, I'll hold my...
Wouldn't you be liable just for messing with Americans? Does having your company based in another country really protect you from prosecution? It's not a crime to mess with Americans. That's not a crime, right?
I won't hold my breath on the indictments forthcoming for that one, which just show you like it's very selectively applied.
Of course.
Bottom line, it's very selective.
Like indictments for what? What's the crime that's being alleged here?
Applied here
is that there's so much filthy stuff out there and people who are trying to buy your attention. I mean, B5, you know, I put this in on purpose to put B5 please on the screen, because as you see, they are also at the same time saying, quote, Iran emerges as a top disinformation threat in US presidential race. And without fail, you know, these conservatives, they're so laughable. For years, they cry about Russiagate.
Let me see if there's anything else in here that... The operation is the first argument case of the Israeli government's organized campaign to influence U.S. government. Social media experts said, while coordinated government-backed campaigns are not uncommon, they are typically difficult to prove. Iran, North Korea, China, Russia, and the United States are widely believed to back similar efforts around the world, but often mass their involvement by outsourcing the work to private companies or running them through a third country. Israel's role in this is reckless and probably ineffective, said Achia Schatz, the executive director of Fake Reporter, that Israel ran an operation that interferes in U.S. politics is criminally irresponsible. Israel's Ministry of Diaspora Affairs denied involvement in the campaign and said no connection to Stoic. Stoic didn't respond to requests for comment. The campaign didn't have a widespread impact. Meta and OpenAI said last week the fake accounts accumulated more than 40,000 followers across X, Facebook, and Instagram. Fake Reporter found many of those followers may have been bots and didn't generate a large audience. Meta said the operation began just weeks in the war of October, according to the Israeli officials. And is there anything else that is alleged in here? Okay, this is just creating fake accounts, I believe. In at least 2 instances, accounts with profile photos of black men posted about being a middle-aged Jewish woman. Based. The campaign also created 3 fake news sites with names like Non-Agenda and Unfold Magazine, which stole and rewrote material from outlets including CNN and The Wall Street Journal to promote Israel's stance during the war. According to Fake Reporter's analysis, fake accounts on Reddit then linked to the articles on the so-called news sites to help promote them. We should check our subreddit. Are they link in there? The effort was sloppy. Profile pictures used in some accounts sometimes didn't match the fictional personas they cultivated, and the language used in the posts was stilted. Oh, hi. Thank you, sir. In at least 2 instances, accounts that profile photos of black men. Okay, we got this. In 118 wishes the fake accounts shared pro-Israel activities, or I'm sorry, articles. The same sentence appeared. I got to reevaluate my opinions due to this new information. Okay. Losers. Okay, and then what was the other story? Rant emerges as a top disinformation threat. This is by Shira Frankel, June 5th, 2024. This is 1 day ago by 3 different authors. A website called Savannah Times describes itself as your trusted source for conservative news and perspectives in the vibrant city of Savannah. Another site, Noi Thinker, wants to be your go-to destination for insightful progressive news. The online outlet, Westland Sun, appears to cater to Muslims in suburban Detroit, none of what they appear to be. Instead, they're part of what American officials, tech company analysts say is an intensifying campaign by Iran to sway this year's American presidential election. Iran has long carried out clandestine information operations. I wonder if these websites had any domestic companies that were set up to represent them, or if they're just fake websites pretending to be. For the Israel article, were they pretending to be, were they just English-speaking sites, or were they, let me check. English language news sites. Oh wait, it listed them down below, right? Okay. Goal of sowing internal discord and discrediting the democratic system in the United States, more broadly in the eyes of the world. Iran is becoming increasingly aggressive in their foreign influence efforts, seeking to stoke discord and undermine confidence in our democratic institutions. Engage online with the council actors. Estimating that Iran perceives this year's election to be particularly consequential in terms of the impact they could have on its national security interests. Iran's mission to the UN declined to comment on the disinformation campaigns of websites targeting the U.S. An earlier statement issued on 19th addressing efforts to hack Mr. Trump's campaign. The mission said that the allegations are unsubstantiated, void of any meaning. Companies controlled by the Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, according to one Iranian official. Projects from tech firms and startups in Iran. So much for not aware. Thank you, sir. Yep, Iranians, one is a member of the guard. So no. Already this year, Iranian operatives have succeeded in hacking the emails of Roger Stone, a longtime advisor to Mr. Trump, and attempted to penetrate the campaign of Mr. Biden and Mr. Harris with unclear results. Meta disclosed last month that it had detected a similar effort against both political campaigns on WhatsApp, the messaging app. Damn. Was anything ever leaked from the Roger Stone stuff? Iran's focus on the U.S. sharpened as Israel, an American ally, invaded Gaza after this. Exchange fire here. The Supreme Council for Cyberspace. Behazed. In his talk with Josiah, Mehdi Hasan said he wouldn't have a talk with you. Behazed. I used to watch Breaking Points. Target audience is younger people / university students who want to be informed and think the right-left mix between them keep each other in check. For me, I didn't care enough to actually read for myself, so I went somewhere I thought I could trust. That was until something I did actually care about came up, and I did read about it and realized how out of touch these two are. Gotcha. Damn. Okay.
I mean, U.S. presidential race. And as you see, they are also at the same time saying, quote, Iran emerges as a top disinformation threat in U.S. presidential race. And without fail, you know, these conservatives, they're so laughable. For years, they cry about Russiagate. And I mean, Russiagate was a scam. But then the moment that there's some BS DOJ being like, Iran's funding the protest, they're like, the entire protest movement is being funded by Iran. I'm like, do you hear yourselves? Do you hear yourselves? Did we not just go through this? Are some of those people getting paid by Iran? Maybe. You know, I need to see.
Was anybody saying that Iran was funding the entirety of it? I don't think even conservatives were saying something that crazy, but okay.
a lot of evidence. I mean, that's part of the thing too, relating back to our tenant media discussion. The evidence is pretty unrefutable. You got wire transfers, you got private communications, you got all this other stuff. Now, again, I'm willing to hear them out. Like if they really had some alternative explanation, that'd be fine. But we got to wait and see. This is the allegation of the U.S. government here. Here as well, though, you can obviously watch Iran, Israel, Russia, all these other people have all these influence operations that are currently happening here in America. But only Russia is called out, and they were whipping it into hysteria. And that's another issue. Is
because they don't even go through anything. They haven't read anything, or they just don't even know the difference, or it's all the same to them. Israel was accused of creating artificial accounts on a social media website to try to flip U.S. opinion on, I guess, the war in Gaza. Iran, according to that New York Times article, has been accused of setting up websites that misrepresent themselves as being part of U.S. cities, okay, that are pretending to, be domestic citizens that are giving news, and they're hacking like U.S. email accounts that are relating to campaigns, which seems to be more, the hacking part is definitely the more severe part. And then Russia is establishing shell corps across the world to pay other corporations in the United States and to misrepresent to people in the United States who they even are when they're going to hire commentators. These are all different things. Every single thing here is a different thing.
Is that the Russiagate people are having the greatest day of their lives, because you've got commentators who they despise who are revealed to have been secret cutouts for Russian payments, on top of this, like, oh my God, everything we see on social media. Already, I watch these CNN freaks like Asha Raganapa or whatever who work at CNN be like, coincidentally, the Russian playbook exactly matches the Trump-Vance agenda. And you're like, okay, like here we go again.
Here we go.
Right, here we go again. And this is everything they've ever wanted. CNN is having a field day. By the way, who do you think broke the news that this was happening? CNN's Jim Acosta. It just tells you everything you need to know. Like, it is obvious that they want to whip this all up again. The Democrats, especially the elite.
Wait, did they break the news? Or was this just like, didn't this all come out when the indictments, when the two indictments were unsealed, and then when the DOJ made a press release? Like, how early was this news broken? Wasn't this just a DOJ press release? What is he talking about? Wait, what? Acosta, CNN, indictments. I don't even know what he's talking about. It was reported earlier in the week. With any level of detail, or can you link the story?
Oh, again, and this is everything they've ever wanted. CNN is having a field day. By the way, who do you think broke the news that this was happening? CNN's Jim Acosta. It just tells you everything you need to know. Like, it is obvious that they want to whip this all up again. The Democrats, especially the elite ones, and a lot of the commentators are loving this. We'll see if the Kamala campaign picks up on it. Wouldn't put it past them. It would be smart not to do it. But in general, what we can really learn, from this indictment is that, look, you think we're not up to very similar things in many other foreign countries. Hopefully, we're doing a much better job than CNN California.
I doubt we
probably aren't.
Just a last thing on the Israel point that I wanted to point out is what they did are confirmed to have done, according to multiple reports, including in Israeli news outlets. And again, this came directly from the Israeli government, is so similar to this whole doppelganger thing. They created fake news websites. You're exactly right. They invented fake personalities, interacting with lawmakers. They got caught because somebody who was, involved with this didn't change their profile pic. They kept it as like, some random white dude. And then they were posting like, as a middle-aged black woman.
That wasn't the only reason they got caught. It sounds like they had ex-sources from inside the ministry that was confirming this information. And it sounds like they made quite a few mistakes, because Israel doesn't do foreign propaganda in a very sophisticated way, because they suck at it. Which is something I've been stressing for the past several months. They suck at propaganda. But it's not the same thing that the Russians were accused of. It wasn't even the same thing in the New York Times article that Iran was accused of. Iran was accused of hacking Roger Stone's fucking email account. And Russia is establishing fake companies in the United States. These aren't even remotely the same thing. These aren't the same thing.
Didn't change their profile pic. They kept it as like, some random white dude. And then they were posting like, as a middle-aged black woman, blah, blah, blah. But it's exactly the same as like the, the doppelganger thing that they're alleging with the Russians. So in any case, I guess Russiagate, here we go again.
Yes, here we go again.
But please, guys, if whoever's out there listening, if some random person who you can't find online is offering you millions of dollars to produce a handful of videos, like maybe think a little bit about that one. Maybe
I get it. Cybertruck, it seems cool. I understand.
Have plenty of money anyway. Like, they're already so rich.
That is what I was going to get to. At the same time, I'm like, guys, I know how much you're probably making. And it's like, it's enough. At what point?
You're good.
Yeah, you're very good. You don't need to take sketchy deals. You can make plenty of money legitimately and not have problems now with the Department of Justice. And, look, the legal fees that you're going to incur on a case like this, oh my God. Some of these, from what I understand, these Washington lawyers who work on these DOJ, they charge like $1,000 an hour, just to interface with the government on your behalf. So good luck, to some of those folks out there.
$1,000 an hour? $1,000 an hour lawyer? Jesus, really?
It's not worth it. It's not worth even the public reputation hit that you'll take on something like this. It's just embarrassing.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens with Lauren Chen from here. As of yet,
I mean, honestly, she should go to jail. She really should, or she should get, at the very least, she should be put on probation or something like that. And all of those people involved, Ruben, you should sue her. They really should. Like, sue, take their assets, because the public reputation would be pretty easy to prove about the damages of what you've done. And second, you know, the U.S. government has the direct evidence of you lying to people. So screw you. Honestly, I have genuinely scum to put something like that onto other people. That's, if anything, you know, maybe you can live with taking money from a foreign government, but deceiving others that is the worst thing you can do. Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button. Or
Got 3 more questions. They all one-word answers or less. Number 1, there is one commentator whom I've not seen you have a conversation with that I think would be really good, because you have some strong similarities with respect to wanting to take down the Republicans, but you also have some very stark differences with respect to foreign policy. That is Destiny. Would you have a conversation with Destiny?
No.
No. Number 2, what is your favorite MCU movie?
What is he thinking about?
Civil War. Okay. And number 3, would you be open to having a follow-up conversation with me in the future?
Yes.
Perfect. Hasan, fourth. I'm going to sneak a 4th one in there. You said something about Zateo making recommendations. I would like you to poach James O'Brien. I would like you to get him. I want a Mehdi Hasan, James O'Brien team up.
He's never going to leave LBC, but it's a good idea. It's a good thing to think about.
"31-minute video." Oh, 9 hours ago. Oh, did they go over this in more detail?
Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday. We have an amazing show for everybody today. We have Crystal.
Boy, oh boy, there's some interesting stories out there this morning. We're going to start with this wild DOJ indictment that involves a bunch of top online influencers. The details are really quite extraordinary. So we'll break all of that down for you. Part of a broader crackdown on a Russian disinformation.
Russian. Hold on.
I can tell you personally that I've known Dave for a long time, and there is zero chance that he knew anything about this. We had a conversation a year ago, he and I can disclose this, in which he mentioned this in passing. This wasn't like our main point, but he mentioned this. And he told me, I said, who's funding this? And he said, it's a French businessman. And Dave would have no reason to lie to me that he said that explicitly. And not for nothing, but the conversation went on. And I will tell you that I told him not to.
Wait, what did you say? Sorry, hold on. Wait, what?
And he told me a year ago, he and I can disclose this, in which he mentioned this in passing. This wasn't like our main point, but he mentioned this. And he told me, I said, who's funding this? And he said, it's a French businessman. And Dave would have no...
He, in passing, casually mentioned this thing that was paying him $400,000 a month.
No reason to lie to me that he said that explicitly. And not for nothing, but the conversation went on. And I will tell you that I told him not to do it. And that was not necessarily because I knew anything about the funding. We didn't get into that more than him saying it was his French guy. But I don't have good feelings about this Lauren Chen. And I was right. I do think these guys are right that they were the victims in this scheme. And sure, you can say they should have known. I get it. But you guys know I did that fraud series over my June vacation. And I, too, was almost defrauded.
Okay. 2 Kalinsky vids. What are these?
So Destiny had a debate/discussion with this MAGA YouTuber. Now, to be fair, I don't know if this guy I don't think he's solely politics. I think he discusses a lot of different things, and he just happens to be a right-leaning kind of...
You mentioned Israel being bad at propaganda. I thought their whole influence campaign/botnet stuff was incredibly effective. They definitely had bad messaging after October 7th. I was just curious what you'd read that gave you the sense that they were bad in the field. They're atrocious. Israel sucks at doing propaganda at every country. The only reason why Israel is loved in the United States so much is because older people remember Israel after 48. They remember Israel, the sole democracy in the Middle East, being able to fight against all of the evil Arab countries. That's it. It was the facts on the ground that made Americans, I guess, so enraptured with Israel's existence in the Middle East. That's it. I think both Nazis and maybe Israelis have deluded themselves into thinking that it was their superior propaganda skills or something that made Americans like them so much, but it wasn't. Israel historically has never really been that great at propaganda, even past the 40s. They just weren't. The 6-Day War was an epic failure in getting security guarantees from the West from anybody in order to help them, win that conflict. They just haven't been great at it. But as now, especially as millennials are growing up, and the only impression you have of Israel is bullying Palestinians, like, yeah, they just suck. They suck at propaganda. I say they suck at propaganda, but yeah, they suck at all foreign. They just suck at foreign messaging. But they're up against like an incredibly elaborate propaganda network as well, right? The Russian stuff and the Iranian stuff. These guys are more active and more practiced and collaborate more when it comes to foreign propaganda operations.
And a guy. Now, having said that, look, if you're gonna agree to have a conversation with a political streamer like somebody like Destiny, you probably want to know politics, right? You probably want to be able to back up whatever claims you're going to make vis-a-vis Trump. So anyway, they have this discussion, and this moment, which I'm about to show you here. Okay,
I don't care about this. And then he has Kyle reacts to Lex Fridman's humiliating Trump interview. Okay. Watch some of this.
Information influence campaign, so we'll get into that broader effort as well. Trump did a Fox News town hall last night with Sean Hannity, a lot of hard-hitting questions there. But there were some interesting moments that we want to take you through.
It was despite Hannity that we got some.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and also it was billed as a town hall, but then nobody actually asked any questions about Sean Hannity. Like,
what's going on with that?
Whatever. So we'll show you the highlights, lowlights, whatever lights from that. We also have some new polls to break down for you, in particular, a slew of new battleground polls from CNN that are quite interesting. And if they came to fruition, would have the electoral college map so incredibly close. So this election continues to, be just as tight as it possibly could be. We're also going to break down fact from fiction on this wild Aurora gang apartment building story that has gone viral that Elon Musk has been promoting. I'll just leave it at that, and we'll take you through all the details once we get to that block.
Yes. So boomers are up in arms about it.
Yes.
So, well, perhaps
indeed.
you can send it to your mom.
Yes, indeed. All right, so let's go ahead and get to this story. Just bear with me while I go through the details, because I think it will pay off for you in the end. So the DOJ put online an indictment of 2 Russian nationals who work for RT. Okay, what they are alleged to have done is to have funneled $10 million through a Tennessee-based content creation company called Tenet Media. Okay, we can put this story up on the screen. So your major players are these 2 Russian nationals. They're the ones who are indicted. This media startup called Tenet, who has a number of very highly recognizable and influential right-wing media creators on their payroll, including Dave Rubin, Benny Johnson, Tim Pool, Lauren Southern, and a couple others I was less familiar with, Matt Christensen.
Yes.
And somebody Hansen.
Yes.
It's like the same name as somebody from the Hansen band. I don't remember, but it's not the same guy.
Anyway,
I looked it up just to make sure.
The major names of Benny Johnson, Tim Pool, and Dave Rubin. I think many
those are the major ones. Yes. Okay. And again, none of these individuals are accused of wrongdoing. However, the details here are quite extraordinary. So Tenet Media hires these influencers for extraordinary sums of money to produce some content for them. I'm talking like $100,000 a video, under the pretext that the Tenet Media people, run by Lauren Chen and her husband, what's his name? Liam Donovan. Under the pretext, which they apparently knew was a false pretext, that there was this elusive, wealthy businessman who was funding all of this. And again, we're talking like $100,000 a video plus. Insane amounts of money for this, okay? So it turns out that this elusive businessman is totally made up. Turns out that these 2 RT, like Russian agents, effectively, were influencing content. They were in the Discord telling these creators and the producers involved with these videos that were being, produced for this money, like, hey, let's focus in on this angle of maybe it was Ukraine that was behind the ISIS Moscow attack. Hey, why don't you guys post this Tucker Carlson grocery shopping video? I'll show you that in a minute, which is hilarious because one of the producers was actually like, this just seems like direct shilling, and they're like, no, you should do it. And they're like, okay, fine, we'll do it. So directly shaping content and getting paid through this, shady enterprise that comes direct. This is what's in the indictment, okay? These are the allegations from the government. So let me read you a little bit of that article that we just had up. It says the indictment claims the personalities on Tenet were not aware of the backgrounds and intentions of the 2 Russians, and that the funding for the company came through a Canadian shell company from a frontman named, and this is the fake guy, Edward Grigorian, who did not exist. Despite the fact that Google searches for Edward Grigorian did not return any results, 2 of the commentators, and it appears that those 2 commentators are, one of them is definitely Tim Pool, the other one's probably Benny Johnson, potentially Dave Rubin, are the sort of focus of a lot of what's in this indictment. In any case, despite the fact that the Google searches didn't return any hits for this dude, the 2 commentators went through with the deal, the indictment alleges, after receiving a resume. Let's put A2 up on the screen that has a little bit more detail. Eventually, they did the deal. Benny Johnson, we think that could be Dave Rubin, but one of the 2 of them would unknowingly work for the Russians for $400,000 a month in exchange for 4 monthly videos. Guys, we work in this industry. That is an insane amount of money per video, plus a $100,000 signing bonus. Apparently, Tim Pool also got the $100,000 a video, but no signing bonus. This person opines weak negotiating skills. Let's put the next piece up on the screen. This is the Tucker grocery store situation I was telling you about. So on or about February 15th, they say one of these producers...
Like, you don't even live stream, right? These guys don't even stream. They do, 1 or 2 shows a day? Why can't you do any of your own reading or research for the show? What are you doing with your time? Why are you just reading me tweets? I don't understand what the fuck the point is. Like is this area Kovler guy, is he getting paid by you guys to do research for your fucking show?
who was using a pseudonym, who was actually a Russian national, works for RT, and one of the individuals who's actually indicted, shared with Tenet Media a video of, they say, a well-known U.S. political commentator visiting a grocery store in Russia. We all know that's Tucker Carlson. The Russian national posted the video in the producer Discord channel. Later that day, a producer privately messaged one of the founders, Lauren Chen, on Discord and said, they want me to post this, referencing the video that the Russian national had posted. But it just feels like overt shilling. Lauren Chen replies that her husband thinks we should put it out there. The producer acquiesces, responding, all right, I'll put it out tomorrow. So one of the reasons this detail is important is because it shows the direct impact that these Russian nationals who were posing as not Russian nationals and who were involved in this producer Discord were exerting on the type of content that was being produced. Let's put the ISIS Ukraine piece up here as well. It's another instance where they were trying to influence the content that was being put out by these creators. The Russians wanted to blame the ISIS Moscow attack. This person opines on Ukraine. They got commentator 3 to do it. So that would either be Dave Rubin or Benny Johnson. We're not sure because the reason we were able to deduce who these people were is because the indictment lists not their names, but the number of YouTube subscribers they have. Yes. And Dave Rubin and Benny Johnson have basically the same number of subscribers. That's why we're not sure which is which. And they both ended up putting out statements. We'll get to those in a moment, but Sagar, initial reactions to this extraordinary chain of alleged events. Which, by the way, no one is really denying it.
No, none of them are denying it. Lauren Chen has not put out a statement, neither her husband, Liam Donovan. So again, just to recap in the indictment, Dave Rubin, Benny Johnson, and Tim Pool were not aware, according to the U.S. government, that they were being paid via Russian cutouts. But the indictment makes it very clear that Lauren Chen and her husband were aware that, quote, it was the Russians in private communications between the two of them. Multiple other circumstantial evidence, guys, showing that they were like, when they couldn't get a response for why invoices weren't being paid, they were Googling time in Moscow as to why all of this was not coming in on time. I mean, at a philosophical level, it's sad, honestly, because it's very clear that the money was just so good that nobody was not asking real questions. Yeah. So, for example, let's put A5, please, up on the screen.
This is amazing.
This is delicious because at one point they're like, hey, who is the guy? I want to see something about him. And this is literally the resume that was sent to them of some mystery rich man named Edward Gregorian. Now, we don't have full the resolution on this is actually quite bad because it comes from the indictment itself, but it says experienced finance professional investor, deeply engaged in business.
The resolution on this is bad because it comes from the indictment itself. Like, the resolution on it is fine. The reason why the resolution on this is probably bad is because you probably pulled it from either a news story or a tweet. You can read this just fine. It's not the best, but
and philanthropy, leveraging skills and resources to drive positive impact. Just a bunch of complete bullshit, honestly. Life and education. They say that he had a bachelor's degree in economics, a master's in accounting. He had some professional experience in financial analysis and consulting, but they list some fake banks that he had allegedly worked at. And in general, said he was an accomplished financial professional, Mr. Gregorian. The problem is that a basic amount of research would have revealed that Gregorian does not exist because there was no financial footprint. There was no footprint on bank websites. There was no Google history. I mean, it's basically impossible in the world at this point to become a person who could afford $10 million funneling to these people without having a financial profile at all. It's basically, the chance is zero, especially if you were working in finance, LinkedIn, any bank records, bank websites, even if you were using Archive or Wayback Machine or any of those, you'd be able to find them. And so that should have set off major alarm bells. But really what it is that because we work in this business, sorry, those sums are insane. And if you go on the Tenet Media YouTube channel, the videos were getting like 8,000 views. Okay, so just so everybody understands, 8,000 views, I mean, how much do you make off that? Maybe 150 bucks? Maybe 100 bucks.
Maybe.
If the producers want to correct me, they can, but it actually could be less. It could be like 50.
They say much less.
Oh, okay. See, I don't.
Yeah, 150 views for an 8,000 view video? No.
No.
Yeah. Well, and
we don't have videos that get that low amount of views, so I don't know. But
especially when you consider the amount of production.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly. The production value. And
I read through this entire indictment, which was enjoyable, to be honest with you, because some of the details here, again, are really quite entertaining. People were raising at the time, like, the Tim Pool and whether it was Dave Rubin or Benny Johnson, like, they want all this money. There's no way this is going to be economic. And the Russians come back to her like, no, we're good with it.
Right.
It's like okay, so what are we doing here? I mean, and the other funny thing about the fake resume, so what Benny Johnson or Dave Rubin, whoever was the commentator that was raising these questions and was asking like, hey, I can't find anything about this guy. Like, can you send me something? And
this is a funny part. That Dave Rubin was like, okay, I looked over the profile and I got a huge issue with it. Okay, and then the other 4 on the other end, the 2 Russians, and Lauren husband, oh shit, he's figured out as a Russian. And then Dave was like, this part where he says he fights for social justice, can we go ahead and edit that out? What do we mean by that?
And so he gets this farcical resume back.
Yes, yeah.
And the one concern that he raises is somewhere in the buzzword gobbledygook that's on this resume, it references social justice. And that was the one thing that he was like, whoa, I don't know. I don't know.
I'll speak up for him. That is a red flag, right? Because if somebody has that on your resume and you don't know anything else about it.
Of all the situations, that was the red flag.
For me, the red flag is the money. I'd be like, hold on a second. You're going to pay me $400,000 a month to post 4 videos. And each of those 4 videos is going to get 8,000 views. So you're going to make maybe a couple $100 at best over all of this. So what's in it for you?
But the fact of the matter is, and you can speak to this probably better than I can, like, there is a lot of ideological money floating around in right-wing circles. So, I mean, this is like sort of in defense of them that, you know, there's all these billionaires who want to have their taxes cut. And so even if...
Who cares? It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing.
They don't, and $10 million is nothing to them. And so even if it's the posting of that one video isn't economic, they're engaged in a broader ideological project that they believe is going to pay off for them over time. And so, I mean, that's what's crazy is like, obviously we don't swim in these ways. We don't take money from any. It's like all dependent on you guys and, you know, like really important, obviously, that we do those things. But that's why when I read through this, it feels so preposterous.
Also, $10 million is nothing to who? Maybe if you're pitching an idea to actually like Elon Musk or whatever, but like $10 million, that's a decent chunk of change for anybody. For anybody, that's a decent chunk of change.
Preposterous, because that amount of money just being thrown at you to do 4 videos a month is insane.
Well, I'll speak to a couple of things. The first is the way that we set up our business. I'm extremely vindicated on this because for people who, you know, we've spoken about this some at length, but we are 100% financed by our premium subscribers through our subscription program and then programmatic advertising, which is placed on YouTube or podcast ads.
That means we've never talked to an advertiser.
Never spoken to an advertiser.
Period.
In fact, the only input that we have is that in certain categories that we don't want. So we could actually make even more money if we're willing to have like shilling credit cards or any of those other things play.
If we were just willing to read ads on our podcast.
Well, so that was my next thing. So then the next phase of that, and this is where, you know, there's been a lot of pressure always from many people who are involved in business. They're like, well, you know, you can make 5 to 10 times more if you were to just read ads. And we're always like, yeah, but you know, should a guy who's bringing you the news really be reading a ball shaving ad? Like, I don't really think so. And by the way, that is where the most money is. Or Blue Chew.
Something that he's lying about, that he's misrepresenting, the Blue Chew might be true, but if you do politics, ad reads are usually pretty hard. You're usually like scraping the bottom of the barrel when it comes to ad reads. It's going to be stuff like Blue Chew, or it's going to be stuff like, if you're conservative, it's going to be like selling gold or whatever. Usually you're, the companies that are reaching out to you, especially if you're doing controversial politics, are very, very, very bottom of the barrel.
Or any of these others. If you're a comedian, I totally get it. That's fine. Get your bag, you know, but whenever you're in news, like it's just different. And so we never chased outside revenue. And that's part of what I see here is that when you're out there and you're making deals with gold companies and shaving companies and all these other things, maybe it doesn't seem as preposterous if somebody wants to pay you X $100,000 a month. And that's just in the private sector. Remember, these guys are getting millions and
wait, hold on.
Revenue. And that's part of what totally get it. That's fine. Get your bag, you know, but whenever you're in news, like it's just different. And so we never chased outside revenue. And that's part of what I see here is that when you're out there and you're making deals with gold companies and shaving companies and all these other things, maybe it doesn't seem as preposterous if somebody wants to pay you X $100,000 a month. And that's just in the private sector. Remember these.
That's not why not bring on an expert? I mean, you guys theoretically should be experts. Why not bring on somebody from your own company to talk about, like, would it be strange to sign an advertising deal when you're creating videos that get anywhere from 1,000 to 10,000 views a month and you're being paid $100,000 a video? Is that strange in this industry? Do you think that'd be expected for these guys, right? You literally work, you guys, theoretically, if you're not subject matter experts, people in your company should be subject matter experts in this. Why not bring them on to talk about it?
These guys are getting millions and millions of views. Like, let's be real. There's a lot of money floating around. And
there is a lot of money, but not that much money for those little views.
And secondary to that is what you identified. And this is where I'm going to give them some defense and also just some criticism here of the DOJ where it's not 100% fair. How many people do you guys know who are on YouTube or elsewhere where you just suspect maybe these people are getting paid by Israel, by Ukraine, by, I mean, anybody?
It's so random that those are just like the 2 fucking examples that they bring up. What a just crazy. Those are the 2 that he just reached into his bag and found.
By Qatar, by Dubai, the United Arab Emirates, by anybody who has a vested interest in influencing U.S. politics. In fact, I have it on good authority that there are several so-called war YouTubers who are out there who are directly on the payroll of the Ukrainian government and or cutouts of the U.S. intelligence community. You know, we've covered, and we will get to this in terms of...
Wait, he didn't bring up Iran, did he?
By Dubai, the United Arab Israel, by Ukraine, by... I mean, anybody. By Qatar, by Dubai, the United Arab Emirates, by anybody.
He definitely thinks Dubai and the UAE are 2 separate countries, by the way. Okay, so it's just all like, why not bring up Saudi Arabia?
Who has a vested interest in influencing U.S. politics. In fact, I have it on good authority that there are several so-called war YouTubers who are out there who are directly on the payroll of the Ukrainian government and or cutouts of the U.S. intelligence community. You know, we've covered, and we will get to this in terms of secret Israeli influence operations, Qatari.
Who? Wait, has he ever called them out before? Who does he has that on good authority? They might actually have on other. I wonder if they like really know or if it's just like Destiny.
So-called war YouTubers who are out there who are directly on the payroll of
war YouTubers. You think he's referring to people like Dylan? Uh-oh.
Of the Ukrainian government and or cutouts of the U.S. intelligence community. You know, we've covered, and we will get to this in terms of secret Israeli influence operations, Qatari and influence operations, Iranian perhaps, influence operations with
what you think he's talking about the people that go and volunteer for Ukraine? Oh, maybe.
Secret Israeli influence operations, Qatari and influence operations, Iranian perhaps, influence operations with the DOJ obviously is very particularly singling out this Russian scheme of $10 million. Now, is that an excuse? No, because here's the truth. People with ethics or people with scruples like us, we would never do this. We would never even be in a position where a deal like this even gets presented.
Yeah.
Because our representatives are very aware. They're like, no, it's not on the table.
Not on the
exactly.
table. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I would have a lot of questions beyond like, why does it say social justice?
Yes.
If someone's trying to throw that kind of money at you, that's immediate red flag. And we wouldn't even be in a position to field those deals. You're exactly right, because the people we work with know that we would never, ever even consider going down that path. But I mean, the thing that, so your point is correct. There's obviously very selective enforcement of these laws. And if it's...
What do you think about Ukraine's International Foreign Legion? I don't know. That seems really weird to me. I don't have as big of a problem with it as long as you acknowledge that if you go there, I'm assuming you're talking, this is the thing where people like foreigners can go and serve in the Ukrainian military. You can do it if you want, but my assumption, this sounds kind of mean, not to sound mean, but my assumption would be that like if you're going, you're fighting as a Ukrainian soldier. If you get captured or some shit happens, you're Ukraine's property. Like if a U.S. soldier goes to fight for Ukraine, or if a U.S. civilian goes to fight and volunteer for Ukraine's army, I guess you should be allowed to do that, since ostensibly Ukraine is kind of an ally. But if you get captured or some shit, you're not gonna get helped by the United States on that. Like that's on you. But that's probably how it already works. Yeah.
You know, friends then of official friends of the United States, then okay, no problem, fund whoever you want, run whatever influence campaigns you want. We're going to talk more about that when we talk about the sort of broader operation that they're conducting here. The DOJ is conducting under Merrick Garland. No doubt that it's selective enforcement, but also the specific thing they're accused of, not Tim Pool, not Dave Rubin, not whoever, but these Russian nationals are accused of. I mean, it obviously is illegal and should be illegal if the allegations are correct, because not only, I mean, they adopted pseudonyms, they created a fake persona, they laundered this money through shell companies. They were in these Discord producer chats, like under pseudonyms, pretending to be people that they weren't, to manipulate this coverage. Like it is really dirty and nefarious. And the thing that disgusts me too, Sagar, is like, you know, every time we have some opinions on Ukraine, on Israel, on what we've been accused of, taking money from this regime or that.
Do you think it's noble? I was watching a documentary where 2 guys died from the USA and they both had families. Couldn't help but feel weird about it. I think it's less selfish if you don't have a family. Yeah, I think it's as noble as serving in any military, sure. You can say that it's sad if they had families and they get killed, but like what about American soldiers that serve in American wars and have American families and get killed? Like, is that any more noble? I don't know.
And so when you actually did it, you give so much credence.
Well, I was going to get to that too. I'm really upset about it.
You give so much credence to these arguments that anyone who has a view that's not the like official U.S. mainstream narrative, oh, well, they really have a secret agenda. They're really, you know.
People are saying Lauren Chen's YouTube account got deleted. Rip.
A useful idiot, like apparently Tim Pool and Dave Rubin and Benny Johnson are.
And that's the issue.
That's even though, you know, like I said, I find the details sort of amusing, I also am like disgusted by it because it gives so much credence to those bad faith attacks that anyone who dissents on the Ukraine war is actually being paid in rubles by the Kremlin or whatever.
Exactly, and that on Ukraine and on Israel specifically. I mean, Lauren Chen was somebody who was very vociferous about dual loyalty accusations and she actually spoke about free speech for Hamas protesters, one of the very few right-wing people who was doing that. And now everybody who is pro-Israel is dismissing her out of hand and is like, look, she was actually the one guilty of dual loyalty at the time. And guess what? They're right. It's actually true. She literally knew, according to the indictment. Look, maybe she has a defense. We haven't heard it yet. I've looked for statements from both her and her husband. Nothing about what the allegations are true or not. That's a real problem. You know, also in the independent media space, like you were saying, questioning Ukraine. How many times have accusations been leveled here? Oh, you're a Russian propagandist. It's like, well, apparently not a good one because I'm not getting paid. You know, be nice. You can buy a pretty fancy Cybertruck. I think some of that money. But this is the issue, is that now all of independent people, especially people with dissenting views, are going to get smeared to high heaven by all of these, you know, who knows, the Mueller she wrote, Empty Wheel, all of these lunatics, literal Russiagate-obsessed lunatics. They're having the greatest field day that they've ever had. I even see, you know, generals, people like Mark Hertling over at CNN. He's like, this is the tip of the iceberg of the Russian propaganda machine and all that. And they're going to take this kernel and explode it out to anybody who has a dissenting view. So I guess if any other independent creators and all that are out there, it is so imperative. Actually, the onus is on you. And I don't think it's fair, right? Because what CNN is paying its bills with pharma money. So is Fox News and all these other people. And they don't have to answer any questions because theirs is legitimate and legal, and that's all cool.
Yeah.
But they take like, I can't. I'm done. Like, oh yeah, well these guys do this thing, and it's insane that they're allowed to do this. But like, I guess it's just legal. It's fine. Okay. I'm done. Okay. Please don't let me watch Breaking Points again. Okay, wait, real quick. I need to go through. There were some emails I've gotten with shutting to like read before I. Can delete them. Okay, we had this. Don't care. Oh, this guy emailed me this. Hi, hope you're okay. I don't know if this guy's a lawyer or not. I have no clue. Understanding indirect versus direct intent for mens rea. I wanted to break down a way to explain direct intent intent versus indirect or oblique intent when examining Trump's actions under mens rea, quote, guilty mind, end quote. Intents, direct intent, purpose to cause grave bodily harm. You can intend a result that is not your aim or purpose. Oblique intent, foresight of grave bodily harm, as a virtually certain consequence of the defendant's act. It's much wider in scope than direct intent. The foresight or knowledge is fundamental to this type of intent. A result may not be desired, nor be your aim or purpose, but will be obliquely intended if it is. If it is, and then there's 2 points here, a necessary prerequisite and foreseen by you as a virtual certainty. Example 1, indirect or oblique intent with foresight of an undesired consequence. Facts/scenario. Emma's trying to scare the fuck out of her neighbor by throwing a piece of rock at their window. Emma hates her neighbor, Casey, because she's fucking obnoxious. Emma here doesn't really want to hurt anybody, but she foresees that there's some chance someone could be near the window and get hurt. Despite that foresight, she throws that shit anyway and ends up hitting her neighbor, causing an injury, whatever injury it may be, head, eye, etc., doesn't really matter. Breaking it down. Emma's primary or first intention was to scare her neighbor Casey, not to injure her. However, she foresaw that injury was possible as a consequence of her action and proceeded to execute the action anyway. This foresight of the undesired consequence, the injury, forms the basis of indirect intent. Example 2, indirect or oblique intent as a necessary prerequisite to a desired purpose/result. Facts or scenario. Alex wants to burn down a small little shed to clear space for a new garden. He knows that by doing so, the flames might spread to a close-by tree, which could fall and fuck up his neighbor's fence. Although Alex doesn't want to damage the fence, he realizes that burning down the small shed may result in the tree falling, which is a necessary step in order to achieve his goal of clearing the space. Breaking it down. In this example scenario that I've conjured, the damage to the fence is a possible consequence of Alex's desired result of burning down that little shed. The potential harm to the neighbor's fence is not what Alex wants or desires, but it is a necessary prerequisite to achieving his ultimate purpose, making way for his new garden. Even though undesired, his foresight of the consequences is part of indirect intent. Example 3. Indirect or oblique intent with a virtually certain consequence of a desired result/purpose. Facts or scenario. Lisa decides to blow up a building that hasn't been used since like the 1800s so she can make way for a new road. Lisa is aware that the explosion will inevitably cause debris to fly into a nearby street, which is virtually certain to result in damage to the neighbor's cars. These folks got nice cars, some Porsches, some Lambos, even some Hellcats. Even though Lisa doesn't aim to damage the nice cars, she recognizes that this outcome is virtually certain to happen due to her actions. Breaking it down, in this situation, the car damage is a virtual certain consequence of Lisa's desired result, destroying that building. Although it's not a primary goal, she knows that this damage is inevitable given her actions. This recognition of a virtually certain consequence, despite it being undesired, constitutes indirect intent. I forgot to add this line. This is for the UK community fans to understand. Intent is characterized slightly differently in the UK. Is indirect intent the same as intent for, is it just a type of intent for any criminal charge? Linkin Park debuts new singer Emily Armstrong, replacing the late Chester Bennington. Is this good or bad? People are freaking out. Why? She is very good. She is a woman. Okay, what is this? Good morning. Aside from the illegality of Trump's PR stunt at Arlington National Cemetery, it is vile to use the deaths of U.S. soldiers as political pawns. Imagine if Kamala Harris's campaign took a picture of her giving a thumbs up at the gravesite of Jan 6 Capitol Police Officer Brian Sicknick, a death directly caused by Trump. What can only be explained as a dark twist of irony is that Trump's infamous thumbs up at the tombstone of Staff Sergeant Taylor Hoover was only a couple hundred meters from the cremated remains of Sicknick. Each is buried in neighboring sections of the cemetery. It is insane to imagine Trump gleefully parading around the corpses of soldiers from the Afghanistan withdrawal to dunk on Biden and Harris while the ashes of Sicknick have to sit there and watch. All the best. I'd prefer to remain anonymous. Oh, and he provides maps to where their graves are. RIP. Legal points for the Harvey Silver-Glate discussion. During the discussion with Harvey Silver-Glate, he took several positions that have superficial appeal, and I thought you would find useful as few specific rejoinders to his deflections. First, you offered a hypothetical that a lawyer could conspire with a client. Here's a better hypothetical. Let's say a client came to a lawyer and wanted to know a lawful way or know lawful ways to kill someone. The lawyer offers advice that the client should threaten a victim's family unless the victim threw themselves off a bridge. The lawyer offers cutting-edge legal advice that the Supreme Court may make new law that, because the threat was directed not at the victim but to their family, it is protected by the First Amendment. This hypothetical connects directly to the point you were making, that Eastman is literally offering a playbook on how to evade the law and hiding behind the privileges of the legal profession. In Massachusetts, Mr. Silverglate's home state, several individuals actually have been convicted of manslaughter by coercing suicide, in spite of First Amendment objections. Well, it's one thing to analyze an event after the fact. It is another to encourage and help someone craft their crime. What's more, Eastman arguably worked directly in furtherance of the conspiracy by virtue of his collaboration with Chesbrough to deliver the fake ballots to the Capitol. This offers a basis to extend the hypothetical and showcase the vacuity of the position and highlight the absurdity of Silverglate's policy argument, i.e., do we really need lawyers to be able to aid crimes with impunity? Second, in addition to the only court to look at this, Judge Ezra in the Central District of California, finding that his actions met the crime fraud exception to legal privilege, Eastman also sought relief from the Supreme Court, and his request was turned away without comment. You can see the filings here. There are some procedural legal nits that make this interesting, but it is wholly accurate to say that he sought to overturn the ruling at the Supreme Court and failed. The Supreme Court apparently agreed with your position. Finally, his point that this simply would, quote, all end up in court, end quote, is dangerous and wrong. If the plot had succeeded, it would have caused a constitutional crisis. It is by no means clear that a court could or would review a dispute about the procedures and vote within Congress. It seems likely that this would be deemed a political question, leading to the very outcome they sought, but causing a constitutional crisis by pressuring officials to disregard the law is not as anodyne as Mr. Silverglate described. Jeez. Okay. Hello, hello.
Hello.
Hi, what's up?
Well, I don't have much to add, to be honest. I just finished watching your video when you read the indictment thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, other than laughing at you pronouncing Russian names or abandoning pronouncing them altogether, like, it's all expected, okay, all of this. But, I mean, it did get me a little bit upset just hearing how they essentially just assisting Russia in the destruction of my country for money. Like, a little bit upsetting, but must be upsetting for you as well, considering, you know, treasonous fucks and all of that. But I don't know, like, the only thing I would add, you mentioned it a couple times, I think, that it's kind of confusing how much money Russia is willing to pay for that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of like have been a thing. If you ever like bother, you know, researching that sort of stuff, it has been their thing, like hybrid warfare. And they have invested like ungodly amount of money in Germany, in France.
I would have imagined it would have been like allocated in more efficient ways because the views on this channel were just so fucking bad. My God. But yeah, Jesus.
And you would have been correct with this. Only if not one thing. Do you know how they throw missiles that cost billions every day at garages, parks, and people's apartments?
Okay.
So you wouldn't call that the most efficient cost use of the money in warfare, wouldn't you?
Yeah, maybe not. Yeah. I think that I'm not super big on the military stuff and that I don't know as much about it, but like my understanding would be the reason why they use that type of weaponry is because it does tend to be more cost efficient when you've got like unguided stuff and you just like send it in, and if you hit civilian shit, fuck it or whatever, that is more cost effective than like precision targeted munitions. So not to say that
I wouldn't say so. But it's not even about the like to have like it's not like I'm not here like to debate this how efficiently they use their weapons, which I think is pretty obvious to anyone who follows the war that it's not. But and it also depends, I guess, on their perspective. But because if you say they're not using it efficiently in the sense that they bomb some old dude on a bike with an extremely expensive missile, but at the end of the day, for example, plenty of war monitors said that their goal in Kharkiv in particular is to terrorize the population.
Yeah.
So if your goal is that, then I guess it is efficient to just bomb like random ass, like throw glide bombs all over the city, all over the place, in parks, in like roads, in hospitals, in areas randomly, absolutely randomly, with no time, with no reason, with no anything. So it seems like stupid. But when you actually consider what is the goal, and if the goal is, as many people said in Kharkiv in particular, is to terrorize the city, then it is achieving that. You're achieving it that way, I guess. The only factor is we unhinged, and we don't run away despite this. But in Kyiv, for example, they usually make more precise attacks. Like more precise in the sense that they attack infrastructure, sometimes like commanding things, sometimes like, things like that. But also sometimes like cancer hospitals with children. So with a precision missile, which is very expensive, as you know.
Sure. Yeah.
So,
I mean, I'm sure there are goals there. I'm not saying that they would never target civilian stuff because it seems wasteful. I don't think that it's wasteful in their eyes. It probably is like, there is a goal there, which is like terrorism or to terrorize the population for sure. Yeah.
But the point that whether it is obvious, I think nobody disputes that they target civilians. But if you forget all of that, it still is quite expensive what they're doing.
Sure. Yeah.
So that was my an initial point. So they're pretty okay, let's say, with spending insane amount of money on doing things that at first glance seem to be not bringing anything good for them that much.
Sure.
So yeah, that's not really like that surprising. And also, I think it's quite important because they invested quite many years, to build certain media influence, but also like a certain narrative. And to build that narrative, it took them quite a lot of time to build this whole NATO is at fault, we're just defending ourselves, poor little Russians always just defend themselves, all that narrative. Also the narrative about like the infamous Ukrainian Nazis and Donbass and, defending Russian speakers, all of that has been in the works for a very long time, not in 22, but since like 2013, pretty much, 2014, sorry, during Maidan revolution.
Yeah.
So afterwards, I'd say that was already a very big investment. And I think they're like desperately trying to kind of have the exact same effect they used to, because in 2014 and up to full-scale invasion, they controlled the media narrative, definitely. So our voice was very silent and theirs was very, very loud. And I'd say that they, in informational war, they won, definitely, back then. Also, but now it doesn't seem like, I wouldn't say they're winning. I wouldn't say they're losing, considering how many people believe that. But I wouldn't say it's as simple as it was for them back then. So much more people are pro-Ukraine, much more governments at the end of the day, not on Twitter, but in actual real life, right? More pro-Ukraine than they are pro-Russia. Maybe not as much as we would want it to, but, facts are fact. And I'd say there is some sort of desperation there, considering I watch their media, some sort of desperation there to have that grasp that they used to have. Because the West assists in Ukraine as non-efficient, in my opinion, as that assistance is, it is still a big problem for them. Even that little, even the cramps, of weapons we do get is still a big problem for them, because you see how poorly the whole thing is going on for them. So
I agree,
I'd say, yeah, I'd say that undermining Ukraine, aid to Ukraine was always their main priority. And they're just doing it in a very different sort of ways, I'd say. So, yeah.
Okay.
You can kind of hear it, I think. Like, if you listen to those guys, like, what do they concentrate on? Usually it's like, we should stop sponsoring Ukraine.
Yeah,
like
I'm pretty very aware. Yeah, I've been listening.
Should...
Yeah, I've been screaming at it for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it kind of always ends with that. And they also kind of like pepper it with something like maybe are oriented towards isolationists. Like, it's not our problem, it's not our... Or like maybe this absolutely the most annoying thing ever, anti-war. Mm-hmm. So anti-war stance is something that they sell. And I think it kind of like makes sense to sell it, because to like stupid people, regular people who listen to this and think they listen to independent thinkers, unbiased, the unbiased Tim Pool. So people who listen like that, they will hear like, you know what? I don't want war, man. War sucks. We shouldn't support war.
Yeah.
And that kind of sells much better than if people knew that he's getting those juicy dollars from Russia,
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, well, that sucks. Also, what the fuck is wrong with Hasan?
Yeah, he's just a crazy unhinged guy. He's just upset that all these people are making money doing what he does for free. So
I was just yesterday have been drone attack in the night, like in 3 and 4 in the morning, and I was like, I couldn't sleep obviously because of it again. So I dragged my ass to the corridor, waiting on drones, and I'm like, I will open Twitter and see what's out. And what I see is this, like Hasan yelling about you people because that's somehow important. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, that was like genuinely one of the most unhinged things. I don't watch his stuff much, but maybe you're like going back and forth, people told me, but I am biased obviously because I like you and I don't like him. Mm-hmm. But are you speaking about his sex life?
Not really. He's just been like, he's just obsessed with like every aspect of me, and ever since I started growing more, when I started covering shit, especially related to Israel Palestine, he just like is obsessively talking about my every part of my personal life, always, like whether I'm like, what did he say? Here's Destiny, always divorced or something. It's just like he's just like been obsessively talking about
what?
My shit. Yeah, it's just kind of weird. But
I didn't hear that. I mean, he also called like Dylan to like pervert something. Like I already forgot, like whatever the fuck. But it just was so unhinged. He's like watching the indictment of righties who are working for Russia, and he's like, but you know what? They call me Russian propagandist, but I didn't fuck them. And you're like,
true, yeah.
Dude, like, what does it have to do with literally anything? Like. Yeah, it's just my man is losing it. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sorry.
Oh no, I just said he's my biggest fan. Something? Yeah.
Well, it must be a bit weird, no? Like people are like obsessing over that shit and bring it up like whatever you do, like your divorce, your relationships, that has nothing to do with anything.
I'm used to it by now. The thing is that the people that live in the media sphere are retarded, so they have nothing else to talk about besides weird personal shit. None of these people will ever engage on on any substantive or factual grounds because they're retarded. Like that's it.
I like sometimes notice like your Twitter stuff and they open it up and all the comments that are against you are just calling you names like cuck or like I don't know, like talk about your like sex life and you're like, have you nothing else to say? Apparently, like that's kind of weak.
Yeah, I mean, it's like when it's like conservatives obsessing over like Hunter Biden's or whatever. Yeah, it's always just the same type of shit. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one. Also, by the way, is it me or has Hunter Biden made less money than those people?
Oh yeah, I actually I tweeted that out, that the amount of money that these guys made in 1 year was about the equivalent to what Hunter Biden made in like 6 years working for Burisma. So yeah.
That's funny, considering how many, like, how long they fucking obsessed over this thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, like I said, probably for Americans, it's not as obvious because you don't watch, obviously, Russian fucking, state TV. Mm-hmm. But to anyone who does, it's very fucking obvious because they repeat, like, things word for word in English. So it's not like even that hard. They're not pretending that hard, you know? They're just repeating like straight up from the Kremlin's tit, like word for word, just in English.
Yeah.
And sometimes would throw in comments that would appeal to Western audience, something about like transgender people or something about, you know, something that would appeal to them, which probably doesn't really appeal that much to Russia, but does appeal to like American conservative people, for example.
Yeah, it's lockstep.
yeah.
They're always the same talking points, yeah.
Yeah. Well, whatever, I guess. Do you think like Lauren Chen, I believe, is like 100% obvious that she, you know, knew what the fuck she was doing, obviously. But what do you think about the Ushanka man, the beanie man?
Say that again?
Ushanka, it's Russian hat, beanie man, Tim Pool.
What do you mean? What do you mean? What do I
Yeah.
think about him?
Do you think he like knew, or do you think he's just
think that-
retarded and he was like?
He probably knew. But I don't know if it was explicit.
I
It would have never
mean-
needed to have been made explicit. But like, if somebody's offering you, it was way too much money. It was overvaluing the really shitty content he was making by way too much. He should have known. Especially it's like a political company, and he knows Lauren Chen really well. He knows she doesn't have that much money. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I kind of thought like maybe, you know, like I do try to like give the, you know, the something. Although we did talk about you, about Dave Rubin. And I asked you actually, do you think he's retarded or is he working for Russia?
Yeah.
And we had this conversation, yeah, and apparently now I'm more on the side that he's getting money, that he's retarded. Or both, I guess. Both
Yeah.
can't hurt.
Rubin is a
I
harder
guess.
case because Rubin is legitimately like fucking retarded. So it's a bit harder to know. for
Yeah,
him.
but you can be retarded, but you also can be an asset of Russia or propel the propaganda for money. It never hurt anyone, you know.
It should be especially
retarded and
crazy
do
for
this.
Rubin because I guarantee you Rubin was making like 90% of his income was probably coming through this company because there's no way that he's making that much money looking at the views that he posts on his channel. He was probably getting over half his money was coming from Tenet, guaranteed. Probably like 80-90% of his income was coming from Tenet Media. There's no way he was making that much. He just doesn't do the views for it. It doesn't make sense. Yeah.
Yeah, but with Tim, like you can kind of think maybe he seems to be like pretty fucking rich, like in general, right?
Yes.
More rich than other people
Absolutely.
there, I
Yeah.
suppose. Yeah, but I also kind of think that they picked people correctly for the propaganda purposes. I think because those are much better to be people who already share the majority of the opinions. So it wouldn't be so jarring for the audience or like really noticeable. For example, if you pick like some conspiracy loons or you pick people who are like constantly talking about the wokeness, about the left, like destroying the, you know, the West or whatever the fuck, right? It would be much easier then to sell through those people to their audience opinions that would be like more palatable to if I don't know, if like a person who never spoke about anything started to out of nowhere hype up traditional Russian values and saying like the West is all to blame, it probably would be a little bit strange.
Yeah,
Like,
you're
even
always
for-
picking people that are always like mostly on your side anyway. They're not flipping like totally anti-Russian people into being pro-Russian, right? Yeah.
Although that recent video from Tim Pool was a bit jarring, I feel like. Like even, you know, he like when he like hit the table saying
maybe
Ukraine
these guys.
is all right.
I mean, these guys have been pretty unhinged for a while. Like, yeah.
Yes, but I haven't seen this type of thing. He like channeled Solovyov or like some Russian presenter, like with the dramatics, you know, with hitting the table and screaming and everything. So how can you explain this if he wasn't aware what he was doing? That he presented the Nord Stream pipeline explosion as the thing that started the war?
Yeah, I mean, he's also
When it
really
happens-
he's pretty stupid too. Like he misrepresents a ton on stream, and he doesn't understand it. We just watched him read through some legal shit. He's not very smart. None of these people are. They're not. It's not even that they're not smart. They're not smart or well read. They don't read into anything that they're talking about. They just don't know. They show up for their show, and then they could just shoot the shit with people afterwards, and that's it. They don't actually know much. You watch their shows for them to give you their political opinion, and then to see like a curated media feed of stuff that you already agree with. That's what you go to these shows for. You go to these shows to get like to download the next like NPC talking points for arguing with liberals or whatever. That's what the point of these media shows are.
But you know what? I actually just thought about it. Maybe this actually does prove that he, in a way, not 100%, but a little bit proves the fact that he didn't just get this talking points straight up from Russia. So they were not like written to him to read, because it's too stupid even for them. They never made this point.
Maybe, yeah.
The blowing of the pipe started the war, because it literally happened 6 months after.
Yeah.
More than 6 months. So it's half a year after the full-scale invasion. So how the fuck can it be something that started the war? That, I don't know, it doesn't make sense just as a timeline at all.
Yeah.
So I never heard this on Russian media. I heard Russian media saying that's the terrorist attack and evil Ukrainians, all of that, yes. But they never said that this started a war. This kind of like is a Tim Pool sort of point that nobody else, I think, made. At least I didn't heard it. So maybe that's, I don't know, like maybe he heard something about it and he was like, yeah, like this, started the war, like something, I don't know, like was covered up, like things like that, I don't know.
Yeah.
Not sure what happened under that beanie, to be honest.
Yeah.
Not much, it seems. Yeah, but I do want him to start wearing Ushanka, though. That would be based.
Ushanka?
I mean, Ushanka is like a typical Russian ad.
Oh.
I mean, you saw those things, like Hasan wore that with a fucking
the Russian fur
Soviet
hat.
star on it.
Gotcha.
I'll send you one. I can send you actually Hasan, and that will be better, so you can feast your eyes. Yeah, there he is. Oh my god, you actually Google Ushanka in Hasan, and it appears. That's sad. Yeah, so this. People in the chat probably know it, actually.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Oh, yeah, this thing, yeah.
Yeah, exactly this thing. Tim should wear it, honestly. Like, he needs a hat, obviously, for, bolden reasons, I suppose.
Yeah.
But, yeah, but it would be like, could give him spice, honestly. And I think, like, his audience really doesn't give a fuck that he's a Russian asset. Even if he knew or didn't know, because they would say, like, I saw people saying, like, Russia hoax, all that. Like, they are trying to, nobody should believe anything about, like, Russian propaganda everywhere. Yeah, that
yeah,
sort
the very far left and then the entirety of the right doesn't believe in anything relating to Russian interference in U.S. politics, because it serves their interests, basically, yeah.
Also, it's kind of ironic because it's actually true. I mean, it would be like kind of funny in a way, in a like a cosmic irony kind of sense, because that nobody like believes in, and like people don't believe it, and people say it's like overstated when it's actually understated.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. Although, like, people say like Israel pays you and everything. I mean, at this point, like, you should get some payments. You're like the biggest.
I agree. The Mossad needs to reach out to me. Okay? Yep, true.
Like, what the fuck? Where are your 10 million?
I'm waiting for
Sure,
it.
they have it.
It'll be coming in the mail soon, okay?
Okay. Good luck with that, I suppose.
Yeah.
Anyhow. Gotta go. Yeah. Bye-bye and everything. Yeah.
Be careful. Stay safe.
Yep. Bye.